Hello and welcome to Talk to Downtown. My name is Courtney Wood. I'm the Economic Development and Marketing Director for the Downtown Stockton Alliance, the 501c6 nonprofit property-based business improvement district serving downtown Stockton. This series is intended to connect our business owners, property owners, visitors, and residents with the organizations, people, and resources which impact our community. Today we have special guest, Chief Stanley McFadden. He's the Chief of Police for the Stockton Police Department. So I'm very excited to chat with him today. We'll begin by having Chief McFadden share a little bit about his background and how he came to be the Chief of Police. And then I'll go through a list of questions I've outlined for him. And at the end, we will open it up for viewer questions. So if you do have a question, please type it in as a comment and we will get to it towards the end of the live. And with that, thank you so much, Chief McFadden, for being our guest. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you came to be the Chief of Police for Stockton PD.
All right, good morning, Courtney, and I want to thank you for having me here today. And it's been a long journey. This is my 34th year in policing, so it's been quite a long time. I did 30 years in the San Jose Police Department. I retired from there as a Deputy Chief of Operations. And what many don't know is that I had a connection to Stockton even prior to becoming the police chief. I was a coach for fast pitch softball for several years in Stockton, so I had connections with the youth. And in fact, that's how I found out about this job, was through some of the parents of the players I had previously coached. They had said, hey, you had great relationships with our children. How about you come police our city? My plan when I retired from the San Jose Police Department was to coach more, but I continued my career in policing in this profession. I was happy to come to Stockton. Again, I've met incredible people here even before becoming a chief, and it's just been an honor to be here. I just made 4 years here, so it's been great.
Congratulations. Exciting. So you have a lot of work you've already done in the community with youth, and now you're the Chief of Police. A really, really cool background that you have. Can you tell us now, what is the official mission of the Stockton Police Department?
You know, I would probably say there's three things as far as a mission, right? The mission is we have to make sure our officers are well, right? That's the only way we can have expectations on them, as far as my expectations of them and the community's expectations of them. Right. Also, what is also important is that we build relationships. We need to touch all corners, build that trust, have that collaborative communication to where we are all policing together. I would say the third thing, it comes down to making people feel safe. And what that looks like is our job is to remove that criminal element from the street. And that is something we will always do. We want people to feel safe. We want this to be a safe place to live, play, and to raise a family. And all things are trending that direction, but I would say that's our mission.
Thank you. Beautiful. And now can you talk about the specific categories of services that Stockton PD provides to the community?
You know, absolutely. We provide policing services, of course, you know, where we respond to 911 calls. Since we are that only 911 24/7 service, we get all sorts of calls that aren't necessarily police related, but we're going to answer the phone. I think in addition to that, we also provide services through our animal shelter. I think many don't understand that the animal shelter is part of my responsibility. That was something new to me. I didn't have that in my 34 years of policing, but I've come to understand that our four-legged community members are equally as important as our two-legged community members. So I've enjoyed learning so much about the animal shelter, its function, its mission, and just how important animals are to our community members. We also have neighborhood services, which is our code enforcement, right, where they focus on a lot of the quality of life issues that affect our look. You know, their commitment is to beautification of the city, right, to make sure it looks great, it looks inviting, and that it's something we can be proud of. I would say that's the core function that we provide through the police department.
Thank you. And how is the police department funded?
We're funded through the city. There's a couple of tax measures. In addition to that, you know, we have a fund that is provided to us from the mayor and council. I just presented last week at budget, and roughly our budget normally is around 185 million. But of that, what most don't realize is about 135 million is dedicated to wages and salary, right? So
Mm.
that's a big chunk out of the budget right there. And also part of that budget is the running, right, the costly running of an animal shelter. And we have our new pet wellness and adoption center that will be fully opening soon as well. So those are expenses that we need to make happen and meet those needs because it's important to our community members. We're teaching community members how to care for their pets there. We're providing spay and neuter clinics. We're providing a lot of education to our community members through that pet and adoption facility that will be opening soon. It's been a soft opening where we're hosting some things there, but it will be fully open soon. And on the topic of budget, we also are part of very many task forces, right? I have officers on several task forces from FBI, ATF, just several task forces where they provide services within, not only within the city of Stockton, but also within the county. And what we get out of that is several resources where, fortunately, we're not having to pay the wages and salary of those experts in many different areas, but they're on our team to help us keep people safe in Stockton. So through that, we save roughly $16 million that would have had to been added to our budget, but through our partnerships within the county, we're able to fill the gaps there as well. And we're very aggressive with grants, with funds, a lot of the different things that we bring to our community and we bring to our department.
Really, really interesting. As far as the Pet Wellness Center, can you tell us where is that going to be located, or where is it located?
Yes, it's going to be off for Fremont Street. We're real excited about it. It's going to just offer more services. As you know, we have our current animal shelter, but with the new center, it's going to be more interactive, more education, more teaching. It'll be something we're going to be real excited about. In fact, for National Night Out this year, that will be one of the locations that we host.
Awesome. Oh, that's going to be so great. Definitely needed. There's all kinds of just animals running around our community. We really do need those types of services. So now I'd like to talk a little bit about crime.
Absolutely.
What types of crimes are you seeing most often in the Stockton community? Like, what kind of statistics or data can you share with us?
Well, crime's always trending, right? They fluctuate, they shift. There will always be a percentage of violent crime. There will always be a percentage of property crime. And I'd like to add a third category, which kind of is a little bit of both, but it's those that are like quality of life crimes. And sometimes those are most meaningful and impact our community members the most, right? Where it could be very concerning. That could be, someone parked in front of their driveway, right, where they cannot exit their driveway because their vehicle is blocked in. But if that's happening to you, it's a big deal, right? So we recognize, the way we have to provide public safety is we have to police your way, right? There's some neighborhoods where they don't want anyone walking outside of a crosswalk, right? They just, they want them ticketed, right? Where there's other neighborhoods that are okay with that. They don't want people ticketed. So I think that's very important that we just build a relationship with our community. As for violent crime, we're at lows for decades, when it comes to property crime, when it comes to violent crime, when it comes to all crime, a total crime. We're talking, we haven't seen numbers like these in 13 to 15 years based on what crime category. Last year, I think we finished with 196 shootings. We've never been with 96 shootings. We've never been under 100 in over 20 years. So incredible work is being done, and people like to ask, why is crime down in Stockton? But we have to pat everyone on the back. We have some great campaigns, See Something, Say Something campaign. We're working on our Parenting with Purpose, where we talk about public safety starts at home. We have incredible community members that show up all day, every day, and are reporting things that it may have taken some time for us to be alerted to. We have a very lean police department. The men and women are working hard. Proactivity is up 54%. So what I mean by proactivity, that means these are stuff that they're generating, that they're driving the neighborhoods, walking the streets, seeing where they could be of assistance and helping people feel safe. So I couldn't be happier with collectively everyone just really saying, you know what, we want to change the name and the narrative in Stockton that we are getting safer. We're not going to tolerate these things happening in our town, and I just couldn't be happier.
That's amazing. What amazing news and numbers, just knowing that crime rates are dropping, especially, you said, it was that murder rates or shootings? I'm sorry if I missed it.
Shootings and homicides are absolutely dropping. And it's important. It's great we've made progress, but the work's not done, right? When we lose someone to a violent crime, it's trauma. It's not only trauma to that family, but to the community. Right, so we will never be satisfied until there is no crime, which will always be our goal. But it's important. Yeah, we have things to be happy about, but we also have things that we still need to grieve about. There's still some senseless violence that happens in Stockton, and that's what we're going to continue to focus on.
Yes, but it sounds like you're doing great work, so that's really good news. How would you say the crime rates in downtown Stockton compare to crimes going on in the rest of the city? Can you say anything to that?
It's pretty similar. There's no large spikes in any area. I would say there's more property-related crimes and violent crimes that happen in the downtown area. And what we're doing with that is I have my chief walks that I do throughout the city, and we have some upcoming walks that will be in that area. One of my goals is to have our big four-legged friends and community members, which I'm referring to our horses. You know, we've tripled the size of our mounted unit, and we hope to have them seen on a daily basis. Is my dream that they can walk those corridors, you know, with officers riding them and stuff like that. I think that would be great.
That would be awesome. And can you share now, how does crime in Stockton compare to crime in cities of similar sizes throughout California? What can you say to that?
You know, every city is unique in its own way, right? Whether it be, you know, the amount of education as a whole in the community, or the amount of businesses, the amount of residents, right? Things vary so much. I would say, as far as a similar makeup to the city of Stockton, I think we're doing very well, especially with how lean we are. You're not going to find very many police departments that are as lean as we are here in Stockton. We have 362 officers right now, and we're authorized 425. So we're down about 60 officers, which is why we constantly reach out to our community to help us.
Very, very good. And as far as that goes, if someone's interested in working for Stockton PD, how can they learn about the career opportunities available?
You know, that's an excellent question, because we need all hands on deck. You know, so I need every Stocktonian in the city of Stockton to send me a community member, send me a family member to come work with us. You know, they don't have to be a police officer. We have several jobs, several opportunities where they can help improve public safety in our city. And, you know, they can go to joinstocktonpd.com is where it has all of our jobs that we post there, from for professional staff and sworn. You know, also our police aid program, which is our real exciting program that we're really trying to build a strong bench to fill some of these gaps, is a great start for our youth. And, you know, as you know, I'm very passionate about our youth, and that's a great opportunity for them to get a foot in the door, is through our police aid program.
Wonderful. So yeah, if anyone listening or watching is looking for maybe a change in career, or maybe you're just getting started, consider joining Stockton PD. It sounds like they have multiple types of positions available, not just police officer positions. Great news. Thank you. So you were talking earlier about, you know, how different neighborhoods and people in different neighborhoods, you know, might feel differently about certain types of activities going on there. From Stockton PD's perspective, what kinds of things are considered an emergency and should warrant a 911 call?
Here's what I tell community members, because I get this question often. And if you don't know what to do, call 911 and we'll help figure it out. What I do not want is our community members to hesitate. Well, is that an emergency? Is that not an emergency? Just just when in doubt, call 911. If you are sure it is not an emergency and you don't want to lean on our dispatchers that do incredible work, but they are also very lean. They take about 1,500 calls per day.
Wow.
We have 937-8377. It is our non-emergency line. Again, it's 937-8377. When it's something might be, there's an abandoned vehicle that has been parked in front of my house for 20 days, right? That would be a non-emergency type call. But when a crime is actively occurring, we are expecting you to call 911.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And what should people do if maybe they have information about a crime and they do want to make a tip to the police department? How can they do that?
We have a great partnership with Crime Stoppers, and I think they're also part of our success. We had over 19 arrests last year that came from Crime Stopper tips. If you remember our serial killer that we had in year one of me being here, a lot of those tips came through Crime Stoppers. So we are firm believers of Crime Stoppers. It gives our community members that comfort of knowing that, it's not going to surface that they are reporting this. And the number to reach Crime Stoppers would be 946-0600. Again, that would be for Crime Stoppers.
Thank you. Yes, so that's a way to report something anonymously, just as the chief was saying, your identity is not revealed. So if you do know something, this can help Stockton PD perform the work that they're doing. Thank you. Okay, so for what types of incidents would you suggest that people need to file a police report? And how can they do that?
Every time that you feel you've been a victim of a crime, please report it. There's online reporting system that you can access through our website, as well as that 911 call will prompt a response in which you can report it in person to our officer. What people don't realize is through the Family Justice Center at Ron Freitas, our DA, is you can also report incidences through them as well if you're concerned with your identity or you're trying to do an anonymous report. They have also been a great partner with giving an additional option for community members to feel safe as far as reporting their victimization of crime.
Thank you. So it sounds like you can call 911. You can get information there on how to report. There's also the online website that we put up there. And then you said also the Family Justice Center is some place that you can go to help file that information. Awesome. Is there any sort of time limit for filing a report? And what kind of response should people expect from Stockton PD once they do file one?
That varies a lot. There are certain reports that are filed that, they're doing for informational purposes, right? For insurance claim or something where in those circumstances, there's not going to be a whole lot of follow-up. Now, when it's a violent crime or it's a felony crime, it gets assigned to a detective that is going to have to interact and have a need to interact with that victim as far as a collection of both physical evidence or speaking of other witnesses that may know more about the incident, right? So that can vary based on the level of the crime, right? Some of our extensive cases, we can get some of the heavy fraud cases that are very labor intensive. It could be an investigation over several months. And what I tell my community members is if you haven't heard something about your crime you reported, please follow up. I have supervisors in the field that, that can respond to incidences as well and provide clarity, as well as a calling into the investigations unit also who's handling your case. You can also ask for additional information as to where they are with the case, or you may have additional information yourself that you want to add to that incident that you reported.
Is there a phone number you can provide for that investigations line?
That varies based on the crime. With the non-emergency number, they could provide that number to them. So call that non-emergency number, and they'll be, if it's a robbery case or if it's a a child abuse case or domestic violence case, they'll be able to direct them to the right detective.
Thank you. Okay, so if you haven't heard, you filed a report already for something that's happened, you can go ahead and give them a call to see if there's any updates on the information you filed in your case. So my next question is, what advice would you give to anyone who might have recently been a victim of a crime?
Is to come forward. By no means do I feel all crime is reported to us, right? Something I used to always say is someone knows before a crime's committed, while crime's committed, and after that crime's committed. Someone knows. And I encourage folks to come forward, and not only when it's in times of apprehension, but they also need to come forward to say, hey, this person needs help. This person went through a horrific event and they're not doing well. Because we can refer folks to some of our community partners that would be helpful, because trauma is real. You know, there is a lot of trauma in the city of Stockton. And the more we can help others pass that, it just strengthens our bond. We tend to bond through trauma.
Thank you. So don't be afraid to come forward and share what happened to you. And I think in some cases, if you do that, you can maybe potentially prevent it from happening to someone else, you know, which is something really, really nice that you can at least feel like you have made a difference in that way. What kind of crime prevention or crime avoidance tips can you give as the chief of police?
You know, absolutely. That's a great question, because we can do better as a whole. I mean, even myself, and a lot of it is just be on alert, you know, when you're going around town and just doing things. Don't look like a victim. We all see those folks, and myself too, at times where we're locked in on our cell phones and we might not have that situational awareness that we should be having when we're in new areas or areas even that we know where we're just getting a little too comfortable. But always stay alert. You know, you never know when something's going to happen. Even going back to our serial killer, you know, when we kind of peel it back and stuff, is try to be in lit areas. You know, the serial killer really focused on people that were in areas where there weren't cameras and there was no lighting. So try to keep yourself in lighting or have someone with you, right? It's harder for you to be victimized if you have someone with you, right? So, you know, they're looking for that person who's alone or lost, know where you're going. You know, use your navigation tools. We have more navigation tools than ever before, but just don't look like a victim. Also, when it comes to property crimes, we're still leaving laptops on seats through clear windows, right? So, you know, hide those items of value in your vehicle. Park in lit areas. Also, we're still leaving our keys in our cars, you know, to warm up that car in the driveway. I know a lot of people have self-starts, but we still have people that are leaving that car running just for a minute so they can go back and grab their coffee, their purse, and then they come back out and the car is gone. So there's a lot of things that we can do to minimize being a victim. And a lot of it is conversations as well, just that awareness. Stay in tune to what's happening around. We're very vocal about things that are occurring. I also attend a neighborhood watch meeting or a business watch where you're going to meet people that are dedicated and have a zero tolerance approach to crime fighting. And the information that comes out of those meetings are very beneficial.
Yes, we have a downtown business watch that goes on, I believe, the third Tuesday of every month at 9 a.m. But there are these meetings throughout the community. So thank you for that. How can people maybe learn about the business watch in their neighborhood?
You know, that's something that it could come in through our PIOs, and I know you have their contact info, and they can refer that to the appropriate unit to get that neighborhood watch or business watch started. So I know we have a lot of business owners that want to be involved. I think they kind of get left out sometimes and not always considered a community. But we do value our businesses as a community. They do help occupy space that would otherwise be occupied by something we do not want there. And so we do appreciate those that take a chance on Stockton and open a business in Stockton.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And what advice can you provide to someone who maybe they're hesitant to visit locations around our city or specifically in downtown Stockton due to safety concerns?
Is we have to take back the streets, and things are safer than it's ever been in Stockton for several years. And now is a time to enjoy our streets, to enjoy our events. We've had some very big events over the last several weeks where there was no victims. So that's just huge. Those are huge gains. That's a true success, and we can have thousands and thousands of people come into our city, enjoy themselves, and no one has to go sit in the ER waiting room, right? That's our goal. Is we want everyone to have pleasant experiences, not to have to visit our ERs. We want them to enjoy the events that are going on. So don't believe the hype. You're still going to hear people, oh, crime is this, crime is that, but it's not. We're bringing factual information, and we put that out monthly on our website. Please educate, please spread the word that Stockton is safer.
Thank you. Yes, I 100% agree. And the Downtown Stockton Alliance, we have a community ambassador program, which I'm sure you know about. And through that program, we're able to provide escorts to people in downtown Stockton who maybe they do want someone to just walk them to their car or to wait with them while they're maybe, waiting for a tow truck or something. So we do have that line here for our community ambassador program. But I would like to ask you, how can you talk a little bit about how our community ambassador program kind of collaborates with Stockton PD? How do you guys work together?
We do work together, and it's a great partnership. It's definitely a partnership that started way before me, but I joined in as a believer. They're out there. In fact, I saw them in front of our PD yesterday. I go, oh, they're even making sure our cars are safe on the street.
Yay!
But just a great partnership, and I know we partner with Hoover a lot and stuff. He's got the people over there and stuff, and it's just been great. It's been fantastic. They've been consistent with the service, and we're just very supportive of that. It's extra eyes, and I think community-wide, we need extra eyes to just want to look out for each other.
100%. Thank you. Yes, it's a program that I know Mike is really proud of. So, it's helping the community. What's something that you think people might be surprised to know about the Stockton Police Department?
That we're human. Sometimes people forget that, and which is why we're trying to do so many more things to keep everyone mindful. We're not going to hit the bullseye all the time, right? But I think, like all of us, we need mercy sometimes. And I tell everyone that, when I make mistakes or when my officer makes mistakes, it's going to happen because we're humans. And until they can find me a hiring pool of perfection, then, we're going to have things that we have to deal with as an agency. And I said, judge me by how swiftly I deal with it when it's brought to my attention. But there will be mistakes made.
Yes, we're all human. We're all human here, but we're doing our best.
Just to kind of follow up on that is, they probably don't realize just how many horses we have now. We really tripled the size of our mountain. We're up to almost 20. And I'm sure you can imagine just what an incredible feeling that it's going to be when they can walk those streets, and also assist with helping people feel safe. So our mountain unit has been incredible. And the last thing I want to touch on regarding this is, I don't think people realize that we actually have a clinician on site, which is something we started when we made wellness intentional. And we all know we can give someone a referral number if we feel they need to speak to someone or they're just not feeling 100%. But we found that, no, we need to have the service available at the moment that person is vulnerable. Because if we tell them they have an appointment next Tuesday, they're never going to make that appointment. So we've really been intentional on that, where we have an office in our operations building where it's available for staff, for both sworn and professional staff, to just have conversations when they're feeling vulnerable.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's great, especially for the type of work that you guys do. You definitely need it, I'm sure. Can you now share a few stories that demonstrate the impact that the work of the Stockton Police Department has on our community?
I got one that stands out real strong in my mind. It was a horrific officer-involved shooting that we had in Sierra Vista. It was domestic violence related, and our officer had to take swift action while the victim was actively being stabbed. Right, so that type of circumstance does not happen often. Right, where someone is actively trying to bring such harm in our presence. So the officer took the appropriate action, and a very traumatic situation where it was a rather large family with a lot of children, and I couldn't be more proud of the connection that came out of that trauma. And only almost goes back to what I said earlier, that trauma bonds us, and we truly have bonded with this family. In fact, one of the children in the family just graduated from 8th grade last week, and the officer involved in the shooting was requested by the family to attend the graduation, which he did. Right, so that's true relationship building. And on my chief walks, I've had conversations with the victim and have connected her to additional resources that have been needed based on a traumatic incident that she survived. But that's Stockton. If I need to sum up Stockton, that's showing up when there's a horrific tragedy and continue that connection.
Definitely. So something, such a tough situation, something can come out of it to where the family involved feels like very supported by Stockton PD. And I'm sure you feel the appreciation that they have for the work that you guys did. That's really, really special. Beautiful. What do you love about working for Stockton PD?
I love the community. I would say probably the number one question I'm asked a lot is, what's the difference, between Stockton and San Jose, right? I would say it's probably what I'm asked the most. And my response to that is that the roots run so deep in Stockton, and I love it. These are passionate people that are always willing to show up, and they're so in tune with the community. San Jose is very large, right? And it's got a large workforce that doesn't even live in San Jose as well. So those community connections aren't as easy to get folks to want to participate in, because a lot of them are just from all over and not dedicated to the city of San Jose. Don't get me wrong, there are incredible people there that are passionate, but every corner of Stockton, it's generations on top of generations of people that have been doing passionate work here long before I ever came here, and it'll continue long after I leave. But I just love that. That's what gasses me up each day is reflecting back. Probably something that folks don't realize is that, the first Monday of every month, a large group of community members, they just come and pray for the officers, pray for my staff, they pray for me, they pray for the city, they pray for the victims, they pray for our elected, they pray for everyone that keeps Stockton turning. And I just can't be happier about being part of something so special.
That's beautiful. That must be such a nice feeling to have people really believing in the work that you do and, supporting you in that way. How beautiful. What would you say are your primary goals in the role of chief? What are your priorities?
My number one priority is that everyone goes home safe, right? And everyone stays safe, right? So that goes for my staff, that goes for every community member, is I want everyone to make it home. That will always be my number one priority. When there's an officer that doesn't make it home, there's a community member that doesn't make it home, it's almost like one of my kids, right? I just view everyone as just being, like my responsibility. And when someone is in crisis or going through traumatic situation, it hits me. And it's just, especially when it's senseless, right? There's a lot of some senseless acts that occur in the city that we would all agree. So that's my number one priority, is to make sure everyone goes home. Also, priority is to make sure that everyone has a voice, and that's not just in the community, but also in the department. I established a lot of ways to where internally, my staff can connect with me directly, as well as in the community. We have several ways where they can connect with me directly as well. So I think everyone wants to be heard. Everyone has something to bring to the table. We all have a different lens that we look through, and collectively, it just makes us that much more powerful.
Beautiful. I love your main goal. That's such a wonderful goal. And it must be nice for your workers to have someone who's their boss that really listens to what they have to say. Not everyone has that ability in their job to communicate freely. So I think that's wonderful. What changes have you seen so far in the department since you took the role of chief of police? And what legacy do you hope to leave behind?
We've had a lot of changes, but I want to start with this: is it hasn't been my changes, right? These changes have been from months and months of conversations with hundreds of staff members, both sworn and professional staff, that I had these one-on-ones. When I first got here, I knew I needed to get as much institutional knowledge from the community and from the department. And it's had several one-on-ones where I said, where are we at? What should we be doing? What should we no longer be doing? And how can we better communicate? Those are like the common themes of my questioning. And the reoccurring responses is how decisions were made, right? So the ship is on a course where this has been decided collectively, by the rank and file, not by me. I would say, number one, technology. We are so much more advanced when it comes to technology. And when you're lean, you got to have great technology. It's a force multiplier for us. We only had the helicopter up part-time when I came here. We said, that bird needs to be in the sky every day of the week. Again, where we're lean, that's our first responder is going to be that helicopter. And that's music to my community members' ears when they hear that helicopter hovering, because they know help's on the way. Also, a lot of changes we did came to wellness, right? We created a full-time wellness unit where before it was just peer support. Now we have a dedicated team of staff that ensure everyone's well. If someone's out sick, they'll call and see how they're doing. If someone's out on disability, they'll call and see how they're doing. We also are intentional about those special moments, whether it be, the birth of a baby or the loss of a loved one. We reach out to staff now that, hey, we recognize you and we value you, and let us know how we can help you as a department. There's so many different things, right? We started a boating unit. Now we're policing our waterways, something we've never done before. In fact, we have our second boat that will be here at the end of the month. We, when it comes to suppressing gang activity, we have it 7 days a week now. We're just one side of the week. So again, all these things are impacting crime and helping people feel safe. We start a whole chief relations engagement team where they focus on engaging, building bridges between the police department and the communities. It doesn't have to be someone that wears a badge to help build trust for our department, and we're really maximizing our relations, our communication, our trust building through those avenues as well. The community has showed up again. It's been great where they show, how can I help? And we appreciate that, and it's been great, and it's going to continue, and there's more to come.
Beautiful changes, and interesting what you're saying about technology. In fact, just the other day, I was outside and I saw a drone up above where I lived, and I realized later I had seen on the news like what the story was, but I thought, oh, that's cool. Those are those drones that the police department recently got. How many do you guys have now of those?
We have about 25 drones that are trunk deployments, right? Meaning, these are officers that are certified to fly drones, and there's a critical incident occurring, they will get that drone up in the air. We recently got approved to start our drone as a first responder program, right? So this will be drones that self-deploy, meaning there is no staff that are popping their trunk to deploy them. They will be deployed based off our calls for service and certain incidences where they will have eyes on the scene quickly. And again, that's music and sight to your ears when you need the help on the way. That's early indication that we're on the way. We just did a press conference a couple weeks ago regarding what our body-worn cameras now do for us is they're translators. That is game changing in our industry, because what would take from minutes to several hours to get critical information from someone that has a language barrier, now our body-worn camera could capture their language that they're speaking and the officer can speak into the body-worn camera that will translate it into our community's language. That is just huge. That's just game changing.
That is wild and so needed in Stockton, where we have, such a diverse population. There's no way that an officer could speak every single language of the people that are here. So that is so cool to know about. Really, really cool. What challenges are you facing in your role right now?
The biggest challenge I said is staffing, right? They're exhausted. I mean, they're working beyond capacity, right? So it's hard for me to tell them maintain that work-life balance, because I know they're giving everything they got, and they're not maintaining that balance, which has made our wellness unit work 10 times harder to reach out. Now they do these little pop-ups and at the operation buildings where they'll just serve tacos, or the other day they serve breakfast. They serve almonds. So I'm just showing the staff that we see you, we appreciate you, and hopefully help is on the way. We're slowly getting new hires, but we're still way under what we should have. So that's the big thing right now.
So again, if anyone's needing a career or a job, reach out to Stockton PD.
Absolutely.
What would you say is the most common question that you get asked as the chief of police, and how do you usually answer it?
Why Stockton? Right. That's
okay.
the first question I get asked a lot, and which, right? Yes, Stockton has its share of challenges, absolutely, but I can't think of another city that I would want to assist with policing in. I became a police officer not to do what's easy. Right. I do like challenges. I thrive in challenging environments. I like to beat the odds. And Stockton affords anyone interested in law enforcement to learn so many things. This department has so many different units, so many opportunities to promote. It's just great to lead a department that can bring so much opportunity to people and can affect the hearts and minds of so many people as well in our community. And so that is why Stockton, because there's work to be done, and there's people here to work with that are incredible. There's incredible members in this department. Again, so passionate. They're out of contract right now, and they're still, proactivity is up, right? So that means their morale's up. They're feeling cared about. They're feeling supported, because that's a big indicator of where the department is based on their activity levels. And again, proactivity is up and it continues to climb.
That's wonderful. So, you want to be here and you're making a difference and you love the community you're working in. So it's very beautiful. In your opinion, what is the one, change that you think would make the biggest difference when it comes to reducing crime in our community?
See something, say something. We need everyone to take a zero tolerance approach. I think that is the biggest change. We're getting better, but we know people are still are reluctant to come forward, right? We're just telling them there's just more trust building to be done, right? We'll do more trust building. We need our leaders to all convince people to come forward, which they've been doing. They have also reported incidences on behalf of community members. So we need to make sure we report those incidents, and we can't have 8 neighbors on the block to be zero tolerance, and then 3 houses on the block are okay with crime on their block, right? Then the whole block is gonna pay the price. So it's got to be a collective zero tolerance approach, and send a family member. That's the big change that we could do if we could up our staffing. It's amazing what we could do when we have, appropriate resources.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So definitely, if you see anything and you have information, please help the police department, or consider career. Are there any new programs or services that you want to talk about beyond what you've already shared that might be coming up this year for Stockton PD?
Absolutely. Our Parenting with a Purpose campaign is, we've had 3 meetings, and what this is again, it goes back to public safety starts at home. And I think for those of us that are parents or guardians, or just have had a loved one where you have assumed that mentorship role or that guardian role, is, how we raise our children, how engaged we are as parents and guardians affects their safety in the home. Unfortunately, everyone is raised by someone, right? Which is going to lead to either, unfortunately, could lead to being a victim or it could lead to being a suspect, right? So what we want to do is provide as many services as possible to where we can improve the level of safety in the home. We're partnering with education. We're partnering with Chris Wood and his department with caseworkers and everyone else. We're getting everyone at the table. This is not policing related, but it's safety related, and we care about our community. So we want to sit at this table where we can say, hey, how can we better provide services to our community members, to our community's children, to our community members that are facing challenges and need support in the home, where we have to get back to where it's the community that is raising a child. We're doing so many things as far as activities and events that we're hosting because we want to strengthen that relationship with our youth. Again, our police aid program does that. April 8th, not April, I'm sorry, but August 8th, we'll be hosting Public Safety Day. And that is geared toward youth and families. And with our end goal with the Parenting with a Purpose is that we're going to have a large press conference where we talk about how collectively all these community leaders have come together and where we're going to be consistent and we're going to continuously offer information to our parents, to our youth on how we can all thrive.
Beautiful. And can you share the name of that families program that you spoke about so I can have the right words to put up?
With a purpose.
Thank you. If people want to know more about that program, can they visit your website?
Yes.
Perfect. Parenting with Purpose. You're so right. It would help Stockton to have a shared sense of community to where we all realize that the youth, we all kind of have a responsibility to our youth. It's not just their immediate family.
Oh, absolutely, right. And we all see it or we hear about it where, if you work in a school, there's always that staff member that says, well, we know little Johnny's heading down this road, right? Or there's that bus driver. We know little Susie is heading down this road. Well, we don't want them to go down that road. That's where we need to show up for them and redirect them and show them the incredible things they could be doing and support those parents. Also, we're starting a new clergy council, which the clergy had asked me, hey, we heard about your Parenting with a Purpose. Can we do something related to the clergy? Because we see these families in our churches. And I said, oh, absolutely. That is a great idea because they do. And you almost think between church, between school, between home, we account for these children 24 hours a day. And our goal is to keep them at those three places. Here's our goal. And it's to get them thriving. And because you'll often hear that they say the children are our future. No, they're right now. And we need to empower them to be leaders right now.
You're so right. What an amazing perspective and kind of way to blend in multiple branches of the community together to do this work to support youth. That's awesome. Really awesome. So you've talked a lot about how your organization gets involved in the community already. You just mentioned Public Safety Day. Can you also talk a little bit about National Night Out and maybe your trunk or treat event and any other events that are coming up from Stockton PD where you're doing public outreach?
No, absolutely. The two events we have coming up in August will be National Night Out as well as Public Safety Day. As far as National Night Out, we get roughly 80 locations, and our goal there is that the amount of locations increase each year. What a lot of people don't realize is these come from our community members reaching out to them. Hey, I want to host National Night Out. So it's very fulfilling to me when we get new homes that or new communities that want to host it. And we get staff there to build those relationships. So National Night Out would be a big thing. And again, something we're going to do is host something as well, which will probably be at our pet wellness center is a whole a National Night Out event there as well. we're in the planning phases now, and we're excited about it. We can't believe we're so far into the year already to be planning it, but it's right around the corner, and we're excited.
Definitely. And Downtown Stockton will be hosting one as well. We're working on the details, but it's most likely going to be at Banner Island Ballpark. So we love that event. It's just such a cool community event. And you shared about Public Safety Day. Would you also like to talk about the trunk or treat?
Absolutely. We had a great turnout last year. We hosted that around Halloween. The location varies. We've already started talking about that. That's probably by far our most populated event by youth. And we're going to think of how we can even expand that even further and build off of that. But we're extremely excited about it as well. Also, something we're heavily involved in is Special Olympics. We were part of it roughly about 3 weeks ago, and we're already talking about next year, which should be around May or June, where we want our community members to show up for our youth that may have that special need and need that extra support as they compete in athletics.
That's really cool. And for the trunk or treat, yes, last year we were there. It was at Weber Point, and there were so many families. I think, at the end, by the closing time, there were still some families waiting in line to come in, but we saw hundreds and hundreds of people. So it was really, really great free community event that you guys put on. So
Absolutely.
We'll be there again. All right, we're coming towards the end of my list of questions. So let's talk a little bit about Downtown Stockton. Your headquarters is located here at 22 East Market. What do you love about Downtown Stockton?
It's intimate. It's quiet. I would like to see more businesses open there. But it's got so much upside, meaning so much more could be there. And I know there's been conversation with economic development on how to just reimagine what downtown could be. And we're going to continue to make those areas safer, because without public safety, there is no economic development. So that's something that we are being intentional about, so we can help EDD dream their dreams by us helping people feel safe in those areas.
Beautiful. And do you have any favorite Downtown Stockton lunch spots that you might want to give a shout out to?
I love all things. I am an eater. Some days I eat very horrific fast food, and sometimes I eat food that takes longer to prepare and stuff. My favorite food is probably Thai food, and I've had great Thai food throughout the city. I've had great Mexican food throughout the city. I've had it all. So I'm an eater. I do not represent any eatery. I will eat, and usually we learn about the new places through our walks. And even to give a shout out to all the restaurants, they're so supportive. They like the visibility. They like for us to sit down, and hopefully we can sit down for the whole meal without something happening. But they just made great partners in this as well, and I enjoy the great food. Had some great soul food the other day, so a lot of great options.
Definitely. So thank you. You're giving credit to all of them. So thank you to all of our restaurants. All right. So my last two questions. How can the community help support the work of Stockton PD? You kind of gave some suggestions already. Is there anything else that they can do?
Send me a family member that you think would be incredible in public service. They don't have to be an officer. They could be a dispatcher. They could be a records clerk. They can be a property clerk. They could work in budget. Almost every profession, every college major, there's an area in this police department that you could work within your major or business majors or anything. We have that in the police department. So send someone. It doesn't have to be someone that puts on a uniform. I see someone that is a good human being, that is passionate and has a love for the community.
Thank you. So someone that could be a good fit. Love that. And how can people get in touch with you if they have any further questions about the work that you guys are doing?
I'd say by far through David and Omar, my PIOs. They're with me all day, every day. And the only way they can get away from me is by promoting out, which one of them is in that process, trying to promote out. But they're with me all the time. They are my communication channels, and not only with the community, but also with the media as well.
Thank you. So the public information officers, let me just make sure that I get their email up. And let's do that.
And they're also on the website as well, too. They have a link that the messages will go to them.
Thank you. All right, we've got David stopped. Okay, here you go. david.scott@stocktonca.gov.
That's him.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Chief McFadden, for answering all of my questions. I appreciate it. I know there were a lot, and I think we're ready to move and see if there are any audience questions. Are you ready?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I did see some coming in here. All right. Okay, so there's a question here, and this is from Faryazdi. He's saying, downtown Stockton is still suffering from loitering and homeless encampments. This affects revitalization program efforts, kind of what you were talking about, by the city and private investors. What are you doing about these issues?
100%. It does affect that. And that is something we're revolving. People tend to see the homelessness as a policing issue, which it's not. It's a community issue. What I'm happy to say is that the city has added a whole housing department where before that was just a collateral assignment out of economic development, but now there's an actual housing director that is 100% dedicated to this, which I believe will help get the resources necessary and to get further options, because we can displace all day long, but until we have somewhere to place them, we're not going to be able to put an end to those quality of life issues that you're mentioning. But as a stopgap, that's why we're working to be more visible. We're working to move people along, and that's my hope of downtown. It is my mounted unit. Once we can get the capacity to where those horses and those officers riding those horses can be in those downtown corridors on a regular basis. It comes down to us having that visibility to where people don't feel they can do that. Again, almost goes back to violent crime, where we do have property crime trending down, but people are still being victimized. So we understand that's still a concern. And it's a frustration with our businesses and business owners, which is why we try to connect with them through Business Watch, so they have a direct pipeline to voice their frustrations or suggestions to as well.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it can be it can be tough to see that in our parks, especially, because then if someone is maybe doing activities in the park that they shouldn't be doing, then it's hard for other people to use the park.
Yep, absolutely.
So we have another question from Faryazdi, and the question is the police department going to restart bike patrols in downtown Stockton?
We have, unfortunately, we only have 2 officers that are assigned to that due to staffing. And we actually added 2 more, so we have 4 now. So you should see them more in those corridors. The bikes are dear to me, so as soon as staffing allows, and a lot of that is handled by my assistant chief, I'll say how many bodies I need to dedicate to you, and he'll let me know when we have that. But we are going to increase the presence of our bikes. I think they're huge, they're incredible. I know downtown loves having them around, as do I, and they're great relationship builders. We have them go to some of the Business Watch meetings and other community meetings. The folks assigned to that unit are incredible, friendly people, and absolutely, I think the addition of more bikes is a priority, and hopefully we can see more of them out there soon.
Thank you. Thank you for your answer, and thank you for your question. Sorry, I was clearing my throat for a second. Okay, we've got another question here from Far Yazdi, and the question is Stockton PD considering using surveillance cameras in downtown areas to deter and change behavior?
We have license plate readers, and there's city cameras throughout the city that we have access to, right, where they're just live feeds, not recording. But are there surveillance cameras? No, but if there's a critical incident occurring in that area, can we access them? Absolutely. But by far the license plate readers that we have now, which are throughout downtown and throughout the city, over 100 of them are throughout the city. But that is a game changer when it comes to solving crime, where we can track the pattern of the suspect vehicle from location incident to other cities. We have one recently where we tracked them to another city off of the license plate readers. Is you can't get out of the city without your license plate being captured somewhere, and we're going to continue to use that as a force multiplier.
Beautiful. Thank you. All right. And here's another question from Far Yazdi. The question is, more trespassing, petty thefts, and loitering happens at night in downtown Stockton. Is it possible to have more patrolling at night?
It is, and I will speak to my lieutenant that is dedicated to that area. Again, it comes down to visibility is a key, right? There's no hidden secret that the more visible we could be in all places, the mitigation of crime happens. So we absolutely do want to be more visible there, and a lot of that can be, even through the folks that you guys have and us partnering and just having those conversations, how we can fill those gaps when your people can't be there. I could have my people be there and stuff, and just how we can kind of work through there. And those are concerns that we want brought up at Business Watch, so that brainstorming can happen right there while my staff is there that would be in those areas.
Makes sense. All right. And I think this touches on the Business Watch that you were talking about. So this question from Far Yazdi is, could there be a townhouse meeting with chief and downtown investors to address concerns and better collaboration now that downtown is turning around?
Absolutely. That's something I do with investors throughout the city. It's actually something I'm very comfortable with. As you know, downtown San Jose is very robust, and that was one of my areas I had to focus on in San Jose. And so I understand the value that businesses bring and how they are community members and community partners and community resources as well. So I have been doing those throughout the city, and that's something through David Scott. They can email that request, and we can make sure we get there. Okay,
so it sounds like there's room to arrange some type of meeting like that. Thank you. Okay, this is a statement, but I see there's a question kind of from it. So this is from @California Flatlander, and the question is, the City of Stockton website says to call 911 to report a fire. Yet when calling 911, they were told they needed to call the local fire station to report emergency fires. Is there anything you could say about this?
Yeah, so 911 call for fires, it goes through our dispatchers to fire dispatchers. It could be that we need to just shore up the communication, how that's being messaged out there. But by all means, you should call 911. We do have an understanding if there is a fire and there are occupants in those buildings, that first responder is going to still be a police officer, whether it be for traffic control or performing life-saving efforts. We have a role in those incidences as well, especially some of the larger ones. But absolutely, that's something that we can look into to see how that's being messaging.
Thank you. And thank you for your question. Okay, we've got a few more questions. And I know that Chief McFadden does have a hard stop at 11:15. So we'll see how many more we can get to. You're doing great, though. You're fielding them very quickly. Okay, here's a question from Far Yazdi, and he's asking, we do see some people breaking windows. What is the punishment for this? And so how do we report it?
So if you are on viewing a crime occurring, that should be a call to 911. Obviously, if there's competing priorities with 911 calls, like if there's something that warrants, saving life, that's going to trump that. But saving property is also a priority as well. So that is where we would want to call the 911. And then as far as the prosecution and timeline, I think Ron Freitas spoke on here, but we just put them in the jail. When it comes to time, we have nothing to do with that. We do partner with our DAs that are handling the cases as far as evidence and documentation, but the crimes vary depending on the amount of damages or what was damaged and different things. But we want a zero tolerance approach. It's not okay to break one window or to smash a car. It's affecting someone. And again, that goes back to the quality of life issues. And sometimes that can be more frustrating to a community than the impact of a shooting that is not connected to their community.
Makes sense. Definitely makes sense. Thank you for giving some insight to kind of the damage this can cause, and also what they should do if they're seeing it in progress. And then afterwards, it sounds like you should still report it to the non-emergency line and file a report, especially if it's your property. Definitely. Okay, thank you. All right, another question here from Faryaz D. The question is there a specific unit in the police department that deals with crime in downtown Stockton specifically?
Our beat officers, all beat officers have responsibility to patrol throughout the city. I do have my strategic community officers that will dedicate some time in the downtown areas where there's a spike in something like was mentioned, if there's a spike in windows being broken or doors being damaged from attempted entries. I can dedicate staff to focus on those areas. Also, that's where our task forces come in handy. If we have something of higher level occurring in the downtown corridors, I can lean on any of the task forces that we partner with, whether it be FBI, ATF, marshals, my auto theft task force, if it's auto thefts that are occurring, to tackle whatever is happening.
Very good, very good. Okay, thank you. So it sounds like sometimes you do need to lean on some specific branches in the organization if you're seeing a spike in downtown. Thank you. All right. All right, so this question is from Faryaz D, and the question is, what can be done about graffiti in downtown Stockton?
Please report it because it looks awful. We do have community members that are zero tolerance, where again, it goes back to what certain communities tolerate. There's certain communities that are zero tolerance. It could, if there's one paint stripe anywhere in that community, they're calling, right? And that would be non-emergency. And that would end up going to my code enforcement unit that will come out and paint over. But it's kind of like that broken window theory. If we tolerate people to spray graffiti in our neighborhoods, that's telling criminals that we don't care about that neighborhood. And then it's going to progress from spraying of graffiti to the doing of drugs to the committing of violent crime. It just turns into something bigger than what it has to be. So please report those, and we can lean on, even though code enforcement, Public Works has also been a great partner where they've come out and do that as well.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Good question. Okay, another question from Faryaz D. The question is, the shortage of PD staff, would you say it's due to budget or just lack of applicants?
It's a lot of reasons. People just don't want to be cops anymore is one of them. When I applied to be officer, about 5,000 applicants.
Wow.
Now we get probably about 400 applicants. Even with the offering of signing bonuses, all these things that never existed before when I was hired on, now they won't even look at the department if it doesn't have some sort of hiring bonuses, right? It's almost supply and demand, and they know there's such a shortage in qualified applicants that they're almost going to the highest bidder. So it's very challenging because the police in Stockton, we're asking them to have probably comparable pay, but you're going to work an awful lot harder. When they can go 5 miles north, south, east, or west, where the call volume is going to be extremely lower, but the pay can be competitive. And it's about us really convincing people, yeah, you're going to work harder, but this is what we bring is you're going to really learn how to be a crime fighter. You're going to be exposed to more units than you've ever seen before. You're going to have more promotional opportunities than you would have in these other agencies. And you're going to have a leadership staff that values you, right? Yeah, money's not the end all, but if we value our staff and they feel appreciated, they'll stay home. So I think the biggest challenge is just finding that amount of qualified applicants that can make it through the background process.
Very, very interesting. And it makes so much sense, exactly what you're saying. Yeah, work harder, get similar pay. It could be hard to attract applicants doing that. Okay, so I think we've got just one last question that we have time for. And this question is from Faryazdi. And the question is, who's responsible for loading or unloading zones in downtown Stockton? In front of schools, we don't have that, and it creates unsafe situations. I think he's talking about the schools down here where people double park,
Yes, there are a couple options. That is something that I can send my motors unit to tackle, where they can send a full. We have double the size of our motors unit, and they like projects, and that's something I can get them on. Also, that's something that we can make aware to our beat officers that are patrolling these areas. Say, hey, can you look out for this and maybe mitigate that or correct the behavior, or educate people on the importance of keeping those roadways clear. But that is a good question. But through motors and parking control, which is under economic development, that they get some parking control cars out there too as well. The little golf cart looking things can go out there and also take enforcement.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you everyone for your questions. And we've got just a positive comment. Says, thank you, Chief McFadden, for your leadership. That's from @California Flatlander. And he also says, thank you for supporting the latest tech in drones and communications. So thank you so much, everyone, for your questions. And thank you, Chief McFadden, for answering them. And so at this time, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. So this video has been streaming live to YouTube and LinkedIn, where we are at Downtown Stockton. I think this time the Facebook link, once again, had some kind of tech problem with it. But Chief McFadden, thank you so much for your time today. And thank you, viewers, for watching. Do you have anything that you'd like to share before we close out?
No, thank you so much for having me here. I always enjoy interaction time with the community, with people like you that are really making a difference and dedicating time to make Stockton the city we want it to be. Thank you to our community members, our business owners, to our youth that are up and coming. We love the partnerships. Take a chance on PD. Please send a family member again that you think would be incredible. And there's so much opportunities, and we want them to make the Stockton Police Department their home. But thank you for everyone for the work that you do every day and for showing up for not just myself, but the men and women that serve you. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you so much, Chief McFadden, for the work that you're doing, for everything that your department is doing. You're doing a wonderful job. So thanks for keeping our community safe. We appreciate you. And with that, I'll just say thank you so much. Have a great day downtown. Thank you.